Sonic, the heart of your system.
Hi guys, it's Silas for Kit Guru, and today we are taking a look at a keyboard from a company that is pushing the boundaries of what is considered compact, low profile and portable, the Havit low profile mechanical keyboard, or to be super specific, the KB390L. So let's start with the basics. On paper, the Havit KB390L sounds really interesting. Havit claim it's the thinnest 87 key mechanical keyboard on the market, and in having a look around, I personally couldn't find one thinner, so this does seem to hold up. At £59.99, it's also impressive to see it's backlit with a number of programmable modes and features Kailh low-profile blue mechanical switches with N-key rollover. The packaging itself is pretty clean and simple, the size of the box immediately giving you an impression of just how small this board is. With the sleeve off, you are greeted with the phrase "enjoy what I have," which is a little amusing, and in the box we find a couple of comment cards and a manual for the board. There is of course the board itself and a detachable micro USB cable. With the keyboard out of the box, it does initially feel quite light, only 520 grams. This being said, a quick twist test shows almost no flex on the board. This is largely thanks to the aluminium alloy cover, which is noticeable on the edges of the board's top casing. The base of the board is plastic though, but still feels pretty solid. There are also two foldable feet on the rear of the board that do have only one height setting, but they do have small rubber caps which should help prevent slipping, along with the two small rubber pads at the front of the board. The included micro USB cable attaches to the top of the KB390L, but it's worth noting that the micro USB connection port is recessed, which means you are a little bit limited with which cables will be compatible. This is certainly the case for the cable that's included, which is pretty thin. However, I did manage to find a braided micro USB cable I purchased previously, which fit without issue, so it's good to see it wouldn't be impossible to replace this if the included cable was lost. The cable included is 1.5 meters long, which should be plenty of length to reach your desktop. With the board set up, it's a pretty pleasing piece of kit. It's impressively small and thin at 35.4 by 12.75 by 2.25 centimeters, and from the side profile you do realise just how impressive a feat the thinness achieved by Havit is. With the 2.25 centimeters including the keycaps themselves, it truly is really thin. Looking over the top of the board, aesthetically I think it looks pretty good. The KB390L does fall within Havit's gaming keyboard lineup, but looks pretty ungamery and subdued. The all-black top looks really professional with the shiny aluminium edge poking through, and the only real hint that it could be considered a gaming product sits on the right-hand side just by the directional keys. Just Havit's Game Note Gaming logo showing through in white. With this small exception, I couldn't see the KB390L looking out of place in an office environment. With the board plugged in, the LED lighting powers up, and you're greeted with what Havit refer to as ice blue LED lighting. It's kind of an aqua green type colour and looks really nice, but it's worth noting that the KB390L only comes in this one colourway. There are unfortunately no other options for colours or RGB LEDs, and the board is only available in a US or Russian layout. Not too many options then. The board comes equipped with Kailh low profile blue mechanical switches, so let's take a look at those. Across the board there are full 87 keys in total. With a keycap removed you get a much better view of the switch. Specifically, they are Kailh PG1350 switches, which are somewhat similar to Cherry ML switches. Being blue, they are of the tactile clicky variety, and their ultra low profile does mean that they have quite a short travel at only 3mm. In operation, they do provide a really speedy typing experience, kind of reminiscent of a laptop keyboard, but with significantly more feedback. More details on particular mechanical switches can be found on kitguru.net, and a link to this guide can be found in the video description below. They also feel really light, with only 45 grams of actuation force required to activate the switch. This does give the KB390L a pretty unique feel compared to most other full-size mechanical keyboards I tend to use. I'm primarily a Cherry MX Red or Brown switch user, so from the get-go I felt like I was pummeling the board, but after a few hours of typing I was up to speed, and typing with minimal errors and actually a lot less effort. I'm probably a great example of the irritating guy in the office, bugging everybody with their overly noisy clack-clack sounds, like I'm using a typewriter. But with the KB390L, the audible noise was quite significantly reduced. The noise itself doesn't really bother me, but for housemates and people nearby, they were impressed with how much quieter my evening typing was, and how much less it bothered them. The transition on the key switches I found to be pretty easy going, but the layout did throw me. The more cramped key layout is completely understandable considering the KB390L's significantly smaller size. The one core problem I came across when typing full chat fell with the enter key. The smaller dimensions meant I did find myself missing it on occasion, but this is more of a transitional issue and pretty subjective. It's me moving from a full-sized mechanical keyboard with a much larger enter key. Not everybody will find this to be the case, however, especially if you're moving over from a similar sized 87 key keyboard. Just something that took me a few days to get my head around. Although more compact, Havit have impressively packed in quite a lot of functionality for the LED lighting. With the board powered up and running through the FN keys, you have a number of different lighting effects pre-programmed. Effects like wave, rotating, ripple, breathing, and raindrop are all available, and you can change these up with FN and arrow keys, changing the directions of these effects, and the speed of effects like breathing can also be changed using page up and down keys. LED brightness, also important, can be adjusted using FN and the plus and minus keys. The F1 to F5 keys have some pretty cool functionality as well. They come on the board pre-programmed with only specific keys illuminated like WASD and the number keys. These pre-selected configurations may not suit the games you like to play, however, so they are also reprogrammable. To do this, you simply press the FN and F12 keys until the F1 to 5 keys start flashing. You then select which keys you want to save your profile under, and then you're free to basically select any key you want. The keys selected become illuminated, and when you're happy, you just press the FN and F12 keys again to save your profile. You can then flip through these profiles whenever you want. Simple enough. If at any point you want to clear the whole board and remove these profiles, you can do this by long pressing the FN and pause break keys. It's pretty cool to see this amount of functionality built into the KB390L as standard. It's nice to see a number of effects, but the programmable mode I can see being especially useful not only for gaming but also for highlighting frequently used shortcuts in programs, say for instance like Photoshop. I will say that initially selecting effects and setting up these profiles does take a bit of getting used to, and can be a little bit confusing. The instructions do explain all of the functions, but being such a compact manual, it can be a little bit tricky making out which keys you are supposed to be pressing. After consulting the manual and getting a basic feel of how the lighting operated, I sort of just started winging it, and there's really not much scope to do something irreparable, considering you can just reset the board when something goes wrong. But it could have been cool to see maybe a small instruction sticker included, so you could add this to the back of the keyboard, for instance. This being said, the LED lighting is nice and bright, has a bunch of options and personalization, quite literally on board with no software required. This being said, there is actually software available if you really want to get technical. The software can be downloaded from Havit's website, and it's actually pretty easy to use. It has an immediately understandable interface, and although I had the instructions downloaded and ready to go, I didn't find I needed them at all. You do have similar options as you do built into the board, like the ability to change lighting effects, direction, speed and brightness of lighting, but you also gain access to key mapping in the F1 to 5 DIY modes. You can also launch programs, play sounds, and even set up macros. There is the option for turning on game modes and Windows keylock, and response times and USB report rates can also be fine-tuned. Initially, the subdued appearance had me questioning whether Havit had actually designed this as a gaming keyboard, or whether they had just added the logo in order to include it within their current range. But the software does really bring the board alive. It's not really essential functionality for most people, but it's really nice to see that it's available if required. So to summarise, my initial impressions when unboxing the KB390L had been really positive, and during my time testing, this really hasn't changed. Its overall size and thickness is genuinely impressive. It really is a tiny board. The build quality is solid and can't be faulted, and the lighting is really bright and looks great. The pre-programmed onboard effects are numerous, and when you get the hang of them, pretty easy to change, and software is available if you can't be bothered to learn through a bit of trial and error, which genuinely makes things easier. The Kailh low-profile blue mechanical switches are a bit of a game changer for me, actually speeding up my typing experience whilst also reducing fatigue. I will be honest and say I do still feel I'm more used to the keyboard I currently use, purely because I have used it for years and become so accustomed to it. But I was really impressed with how quickly I went from cracking open the box to getting up to about 90% efficiency on the KB390L. The clicky response alongside reduced audible noise is also a big plus. There isn't really anything negative I can say about the board I've been testing, only that there are limited options available to choose from. It would be really nice to see some other options for LED colours. Personally, I just prefer white, And with the high variance of mechanical switches available in today's market, it suggests that consumers definitely have their own preferences, so maybe a few more low-profile mechanical options other than just a blue switch. At £59.99 though, it's a good deal, and for somebody who has either limited desk space or would like a more portable keyboard for travel, or would just prefer the shorter travel distance and not to be hammering on a typical mechanical keyboard, if you had picked up the Havit low-profile mechanical keyboard, the KB390L, I think you'd be really pleased. Make sure you like this video if you liked it, and don't forget to hit subscribe for future videos. If you don't want to miss the next video, feel free to click the bell icon below for notifications of new video releases from Kit Guru. I've been Silas for Kit Guru, and I will see you in the next one.